Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome in. I'm glad you could join me again for another stream. I wanted to talk to you tonight about some ways to understand and define what it is to be psychic or to be an intuitive. And I'd had a couple of people ask me over the week, so I thought maybe I could go over some of that with you. I hope you've had a very nice week. It's been extremely hot here, but not as hot as some places in the country. And hopefully our monsoon season will be moving in and keep things cool. So I hope you all are doing well. So one of the things that I get in the way of conversations with people is, I'm not psychic or, um, you know, well, maybe, I've only had this one time X happened and how do I know if I'm psychic? So not everyone has the natural tendency, but everyone has the ability. And it, in part, is by, how were we brought up? Was it nurtured? When you got that gut feeling, did you shrug it off because of circumstances or peer pressure? Um, it, there's a lot of variables that go into that. And so when I was taking my first classes to get back into doing this type of work, we did a little quiz, and I don't have the quiz written down, but I did keep notes on what the different abilities are and how to recognize them within yourself. So the most common one you'll hear is clairvoyant, and that means clear seeing. So a clairvoyant person may have dreams and visions, oftentimes precognition, precognitive dreams, that sort of thing. But there are three other main clairs that you'll hear, and that's CLAIR. So there's clairsentient, which is clear feeling. So an empath. A lot of times you'll hear that word. Somebody will say, yes, I'm very empathic. I feel the emotions of others. Clear feeling. Okay, so that's clairsentient. Clairaudient. So that's somebody who can hear. And whether that is with their internal dialogue or internal mind's ear or their physical ear, they may hear um, words either physically out in open as though someone were in the room with them, or they might hear just the sound of someone's voice or thought of someone's voice in their mind that is giving them a message. Another way that that can manifest is um, tones or ringing in the ears. So, barring any medical issues that you've had ruled out, one of the common ways that clairaudience will manifest is you'll get a tone out of nowhere, either one ear or the other, sometimes both. In my case, when it happens, I equate it to someone has struck a tuning fork and then put it right up to my ear, and then just all of a sudden I hear that hum, and then it fades out. And it will only be in one side or the other. And I've come to where I've made an agreement with myself, my higher self, my guides, that if it's on one side, it's a yes or a positive reinforcement. And if it's on the other side, it's a no or a negative reinforcement. So, if say I'm doing a reading and I'm asking about a particular person, and is this that person that's coming through, and I get the tone on the right side, I'll know that that's a yes. So that's one way that clairaudience will happen. Or you'll hear um, specific song over and over again that relate to a particular person. That, say, for instance, your mother's passed away and her favorite song was "Oh What a Night," and all of a sudden, just out of the blue, you'll start feeling like singing all the lyrics to that. But then later on that day, you'll turn on the radio, and the first station you turn to, "Oh What a Night" is playing. And so that's another way that clairaudience can present itself. Okay. Then the next, of course, clairvoyance, clairseeing, and claircognizance, which is claircognizance and clairvoyance are my two primary gifts. I have both the other abilities as secondary gifts. Claircognizance is clear knowing. So you just know something. You'll walk into a room and nobody's talking, but you know that that person that's standing right over in that corner just started an argument because not only do you know what happened, but you're picking up on the energy of what just happened. Um, with clear cognizance, you'll know how to do things without ever having done them before. You'll see the solution to the problem instantaneously. You'll see, uh, I want to make a painting or I want to make a box, but I want it to do this or I want it to look like that. And you'll be able to instantaneously see the fastest route and it's going to be the most successful, are really common. So with clairsentient, if these things resonate with you, then chances are you have these abilities. With clairsentient, which is clear feeling, um, you feel physical sensations. Sometimes, if a spirit is in your presence, or I equate it to that the hair on your arm standing up. You get that electricity feel. Or you might feel when something has stroked your hair or made a sound. So then another way is you feel the emotions of others and you feel them very deeply. I say my volume is turned up to 11 when it comes to feeling the emotions of others. So if an argument has just happened, then I feel the anguish, the tension, and all of that emotion from those people, directly or indirectly. I may walk into the room and they've all left, but I still feel the residual. So, I will pick up on that. In situations where something is active, say, an argument taking place or a stressful situation, I may get overwhelmed as someone who is clairsentient because I feel those emotions, um, tenfold compared to what the average person would. Tend to explain things in the world around you in words that are of feeling. Like, you know, it just feels off today. Or it feels like there's love in the air. It's cliche. I know. I get it. But you get where I'm coming from. So with clairaudient, let me go back over a little bit more on that. So clairaudients also tend to be very drawn to, and attracted to, music and the emotions that music evokes. So listening to a particular song will maybe not necessarily evoke the same emotion for me that it would for someone who is clairaudient, in that they will associate it with a specific thing. It's almost like a poetry. It speaks to how they understand the world, is through sound and through music. They'll tend to be musicians, or they'll be singers, or they'll be speakers, because um, it all has to do with hearing and listening. Okay. So then we go to clairvoyant, which is, again, it's the most common that you'll hear of. Clear seeing, you dream in color. So if you have a vivid memory of your dreams, you dream in living color, which that's definitely me, um, then that's one way that you will be, um, know that you have this ability. Uh, you get answers in your mind's eye, um, which is another way that same thing. I, like I've described with how I do spiritual reading, will get imagery in my mind's eye. Um, like I'm having a memory. It's right there. I can describe to you in a three-dimensional way. So you may see color flashes. Um, so when I'm saying with color flashes, oftentimes clairvoyants will have the ability to also see auras. Um, you will be able to look at something or look at someone, and if you soften your gaze a little bit and you look at the space around their body, you'll see a specific wave of color in their aura. And it may be blue, it may be purple, it may be yellow, it may be green, which all deal with, their different chakras, what's in balance, what may not be in balance. You will use I see as a common way of expressing yourself, um, or and use visuals as ways of explaining things. Um, so that is very common. With clairvoyance, clear knowing, you may tend to be very analytical. You may be a thinker. You may be um, a scientist, or something of that sort. You may be somebody that likes to look at the details of how something works. You may like to watch lots of programs on the History Channel. So you like history, you like knowing um, about the culture, you like knowing about how they did things, um, how they were structured, and things like that attract you. Um, let's see, you may tend to know how to fix something. So I may, look at a broken thingamajig and say, I've never made a thingamajig, but if I take it apart this way and I do this and I do that, then I can fix it, or I can put it back together. I was notorious as a kid. Now, this tells you how old I am, of course. Most of you know. I had the old rotary dial phone, okay? And I like to take them apart and put them back together, to the chagrin of my mother, to the point that we always had an extra. Now, when I put them back together, here's the interesting part. I was able to put them back together, not a problem. They always worked great, and I always had parts left over, and I don't know how I did that. But I loved taking things apart, seeing how they work, seeing how they go together. Yes, Stephen. No sound.
It's
I can't hear you.
hypothetical. If I don't have myself on mute, it wouldn't be me. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Um, yeah, I saw you're having a little technical. You froze real bad. Um,
Okay, so we're getting the storms rolling back in. So,
okay, just you're
um,
good. I'll just let you know if you
yeah,
freeze and don't come right back. Don't worry, I'll let you know. Okay.
yeah, I appreciate that very much.
All right,
Because,
buddy.
like I say, I had a thunderstorm roll through earlier this afternoon, and when it rolls through, the towers go down, and so
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, you may
Hello,
lose me.
everybody. No, I'm sorry. I
So,
messed in. I'm a mess. I am so gross. It's not even fun. Have fun. I'll be watching.
all right, thank you, dear. Appreciate you popping in. So anyway, those are the basic types of psychic abilities. And, we can talk in further evenings about different ways that you can nurture those psychic abilities, if you want to grow them or just want to understand them better. Again, like I said, we're all born with this. It's part of how the human brain is wired. Okay. Um, Modern science is just catching up to that. We've had to call it spirituality and metaphysics, because modern science had to catch up, but they are understanding that the wiring of the human brain is able to discern and delineate these types of things. Um, I'd love to, if I were a better researcher online, pull up some of the different scientific papers and put links out there for you. I'm going to see if I can get some help and maybe we can do that for you. But, excuse me, one of the things that I did want to do is I'll touch base back on each one a little bit and maybe give you one or two tips on um, how to use them and develop them um, in a good way to help yourself just navigate through the daily life. So, first of all, first and foremost, pay attention to your gut instinct. That gut feeling comes from the central part of your body that is your solar plexus chakra. And trying to find the right words, it's a natural ability to protect ourselves to survive in nature. Okay. And when you continually push that aside, after a while, your natural ability to protect yourself in dangerous situations goes away. And so you can end up in unsafe situations, um, that might have been able to be avoided had you just listened to your instincts, listen to that inner voice, that inner self. Okay. And it could be as simple as you're coming home from the grocery store and your intuition says, I don't normally go left, but maybe I should go left this time. And so you go left instead of right, and you find out there was an accident. That, okay, well, since I went left, I, I didn't get held up in traffic. So, it just pay attention to those little things. And that comes back to the clear knowing, the knowing what is going to happen next, knowing what a situation is or how to deal with it. If for myself, what I will do to practice my ability is I will think about a particular place, thing, person, place, or thing. Okay. and focus on that feely bot, okay, or on that person, and ask myself, ask my guides, what do I need to know today? And then whatever comes into my brain, I write it down, okay, pertaining to that thing, that person, or that place. And then I'll set it aside. And later on, if it's a person, usually I'll do this, I'll practice with my soul sister. Um, and I'll say, okay, you know, I got, good example, I got, um, in thinking about her situation, pictures in my head of there's this guy that's about, I don't know, 5'3", maybe 5'5". He's kind of thin, wearing a short sleeve shirt, like t-shirt, but almost reminds me of a bowling shirt or like a uniform shirt. And I see him walking back and forth outside of the place where you're doing this work. And upon giving her the full description, she says, "Oh yeah, that's so and so. They've actually been doing most of the outside landscaping." Okay, so and then by writing it down, I can say, "Yeah, see, I already had it written down." It gives her validation as well as myself in practice, and it's learning to listen to and reinforce those positive hits. Um, so that's one way to do it. With the same notion that claircognizance, the clear knowing, also can come through precognitive dreams, which is also lends to clairvoyance. Um, if I wake up in the morning and I remember clear parts of my dreams, and I mean crystal ball clear, I will write them down, and I will go back later in the day and look at them again if, you know, they trigger information and write down any notes. So it may be like in a case I had some years ago. My husband was traveling. Um, I woke up and I just know I saw him, his mom, car, and steam coming from the front of the car as an accident. And unfortunately, back then we didn't have cell phones, so I'd wait while he was on travel for him to get to a place where he could call me and say, "Yeah, in taking her out of the airport, they jumped the curb. They caught the edge of one of the little yellow striped guideposts. It actually had caused a flat, and so they had to wait and get the tire changed and so on and so forth." But it gave validation to that. So I could say, okay, I didn't just imagine it. I wasn't just my fears putting, on the fact that he was traveling or anything like that, because I'd written, down words like accident, but not bad, no harm. And they weren't, even rustled, bumped, bruised. It was just, it hit the edge of that just right that it popped the tire. Um, so those are two ways, or similar ways that you can work on developing that. With same thing with the clairvoyant. Um, Clairvoyance also like in movies, you'll see. I don't have it here with me, but there's a thing. It's called a Zerner, Zerner deck, and it has the star, the wavy lines, the plus sign, the equals, and the circle. And practice by using a set of cards like that and just, shuffle the deck and pull the top card, set it face down in front of you, put your right hand over the card, and just write down, make a note of, okay, card, this is the first card. I see a circle. Flip it over. What'd you get? Was it right? Was it wrong? What was it? And, and I'll explain in just a second. Do that with the next card, and do that with the next card. What, and I didn't realize that I was doing this, but my teacher Sarah explained sometimes people who are claircognizant, clear knowers, that are also clairvoyant, clairseers, will pick up on the next card in the deck. So I may start out with, okay, that's circle. Okay, that wasn't circle. That was a plus. But you flip over the next card and that's circle. Okay, so then, you do the next one. And so sometimes we're just a slight jump ahead in what we're seeing. So, practicing with one of those decks is one way. Um, as kids, we used to separate, and I did this with my mom, separate a regular deck of playing cards into red or black and just practice. Is it red? Is it black? Is it red? Is it black? Then the better you get at it, then you jump to, is it a number? Is it a face card? Is it red? Is it black? And then you can also even split it out into what suit is it and practice that. So, there's lots of simple steps to, you know, make it a little harder and work a little bit more, but start out real simple, Um, oftentimes people that are both claircognizant and clairvoyant, there's those match games, those memory games where, online especially, it's one of my favorites. You've got all the tiles laid out and you flip over a tile and, or it'll show you the whole map and then it flips back over and, okay, one is here and one is here. And, matching up those tiles. That's another good practice for clairvoyance or clairsentience. Um, let's see. Let's go back to clairaudient. So with clairaudient, what I found is listening to things like binaural beats. You can actually go on YouTube and there's tons of channels that will have music that is tuned to specific frequencies. It may be, the, 528 hertz, megahertz, and it will have the binaural beats, which what it does, it's another word is hemisync. If you've got headphones on or earplugs in, it plays back and forth from back and forth both sides of your hearing to sync up both sides of your brain, allowing for better um, cognitive ability. And it, when I do it, like for instance today, you'll notice I'm having a lot of thought disconnects. I will probably listen to binaural beats this evening as a way to allow myself to hear my inner voice again, to be able to discern what is me, what is spirit. Okay. Also, sounds. So, a good example, and this is one of my smaller singing bowls, is using sound tools to help you be able to recognize both your physical ear and your clairvoyant or inner ear, um, clairaudient ear. And using frequencies and different tones to balance the resonance understanding. Um, I know I'm not communicating it very well right now, but it really does help. Ringing bells, using rattles. It moves energy as well. So those things can be beneficial to someone who's working on developing their core audience. You may also want to listen to books on tape, listen to music, and allow yourself to go more internal on what you hear, whether it be music or words, and what imagery does that create for you? And make note of it. It may be I'm listening to a particular song, and then okay, I'm picking up or getting the mental imagery of um, flowers and a flower bed and a particular type of flower and a garden path and what the garden path looks like. And so, I'll make note of that. And so it's training your body to, when you hear those things, what do those things mean to you and how to interpret them? Okay. Um, with clairsentient, clear feeling, and the sensations, it may be a case of, um, working in environments where you know that there's laughter or that, there's peace or what have you. Because I know you don't want to jump right off into the deep end of, where there's deeper emotions, sadness or anger or any of that. But um, a lot of times you'll find these kinds of people who are very empathic or um, clairsentient will end up being counselors. They'll end up being um, healthcare workers who, they don't like to go out. They like to help others emotionally, um, raise their vibration. They may end up, if there's someone who speaks well, being a teacher. They may end up being um, a musician who teaches. So, those types of things can encourage clairsentience and your ability thereof. So, what time is it? We are there. The next thing that I wanted to go on, and again, like we always say, if you have questions, pop them in all caps. That way, not only will um, Stephen Ghost Dragons be able to see them, he can put them up, and I can take my glasses down and read them off the screen. Um, let's see. Things that I also wanted to touch on with that. Feelers, empaths, they tend to pull away from negative situations. So they will be get overwhelmed during emotional situations, whether that be a very emotional scene in a movie or in everyday life environment. They'll tend to withdraw from that. They don't tend not to watch the news a lot because they feel that um, sorrow or that wide swing of emotions. Uh, more so than others do. Your knowers will tend to try to be the fixers, and not just in a physical sense, but in it could be a relationship sense. It could be in environmental sense. They tend to be the ones that want to try to fix things, try to make things better. Um, Hearers will tend to be the ones that can't handle a lot of noise. Excuse me, they'll get overwhelmed by noise. They'll get overwhelmed by specific sounds, clicking sounds or chewing sounds will tend to overwhelm those that are clear audience. Uh, uh, they'll tend to, turn up or turn down the volume just depending on what's going on. And and I'm very guilty of doing this. They'll have to have a sound distraction in the background to be able to focus on the task at hand. So whether that is white noise, ambient sound, music, uh, talking, audiobooks, TV in the background, to be able to focus on their specific task, um, writing, what have you. Let's see. The clear seers, the clairvoyants, we tend to have sensitive eyes, uh, tend to wear glasses, um, and tend to um, not only see um, things brighter and be more sensitive to bright things, but we're often told that we shine brighter. So we're the kind of people that when you walk into a room, their presence just kind of makes everything feel a little bit brighter, a little more sparkly, a little more um, soft. Okay, so knowers do tend to leave the TV on. Uh, Here's one, feelers. So those of you that are very sensitive to that, you'll tend to want to have a fan on you all the time. You like to have that feeling sensation, or you may do better with a weighted blanket to sleep with because you need that sensation of touch. We tend to touch, you'll see me, I'm constantly, I'll do this, I'll touch. It becomes self-soothing to feel that sensation. So then we go on to what I want to talk about there. Um, so also in working with your abilities and practicing your abilities, a real common practice, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it before, is doing not just meditation, but a candle meditation. And it's as simple as lighting a candle and placing it before you in a quiet space, focusing yourself within your body, within the self, feeling your skin, feeling and paying attention to that sensation of what what do the hairs on my arms feel? What does the hair on my and skin on my legs feel? Do I feel the air on the bottoms of my feet? Um, do I have any sensation on the top of my head? Then take that focus and turn it outwards towards the candle and focus on what is the space around the candle like? What what sensations do you receive? Um, you know, do you feel the warmth from the candle? Do you see the aura of the light of the candle flame? Do you see an aura of the candle itself or the jar that it's in? You may pick up on color and sensations from that, and make note of that. Once you've gotten deeply into that focus of the candle, then turn your focus to where the candle sits, as though you were the candle and looking back at yourself. What is that like? What do you see? What do you feel? What do you hear? What do you know? And take that in. Make note of that. If and I'm one that I will open my eyes during a meditation and jot down notes of what information I'm receiving. Or I might make a sketch of, a person, place, thing, if that helps me solidify what I receive. And then that's another really good way to do it. And I'm hearing thunder as it's getting closer to the house. So I'm probably going to go ahead and cut out in the next couple of minutes and cut the stream a little bit short tonight, because we also have doors and windows open all over the place that I'll need to close before the rain gets here. Um, if there's anybody that has questions, pop them in the chat. I'll give you a minute or two. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and end the stream. Um, I'm pretty sure, unless things change, that Steven's going to be on tomorrow night with Dragon's Den, as well as Saturday night. And y'all can come hang out with him, and I'll try to pop by if I'm able to, and we can hang out and
Also,
chat.
don't
I,
forget, Gemma's on Long Island Bigfoot tomorrow night too, at 8
and she
o'clock.
is okay at 8. Is that 8 p.m. Eastern?
8 p.m., I believe, Eastern. I'll
Eastern.
have to
Okay.
check with her and make sure.
Yep, definitely. And watch for Gemma to post that as well. Um, if if you think about it, Stephen, maybe we can even go back and post it in the
Yeah,
show
I will.
notes
Yeah, I will.
so that folks can go find that, because I definitely want to be there for that. Um, and then of course, our regular weekly time with Gemma, her Monday short, and if you guys are planning to or able to do the coffee talk um, afterwards, that would be great. And we'd love to have you all. It, if you have questions, if you need help, or just, want a little guidance, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Reach out to Gemma. Our information is always listed. Um, Stephen's really good about popping it in the chat as well as in the show notes. It's just a few more days left. Gemma's doing her half price readings. We've got some nice little giveaways. So who we got here?
Okay, Pammy had a question. Is there any
Okay.
suggestions to try to bring it down or control? No, she said. Okay, here we go. Laura, my anxiety had. Wait, let's get this right because I didn't see that. Laura, my anxiety has been so high lately that I can't breathe at times. I've been doing things like going outside, walking the park a lot, but nothing seems to help, and just don't know how it and know why it's so high. Is there a
Right.
suggestion you can make?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, the going out, getting out, taking walks, that sort of thing, absolutely is fantastic. And can be a really good way to ground yourself, to bring that energy down. And trust me, I get it. I get the anxiety attacks, and a lot of it has to do with the changes that our uh, both personal and societal world is going through right now. Um, so the the candle meditation is one. Getting out, grounding, take your shoes off, barefoot to the ground, reconnect with that energy, whether it's sitting and doing nothing, sitting and doing an active meditation, or just listening to music, going for a walk barefoot. Um, I've gotten to where I'll go out in our cat run, and I'll just sit, cross-legged down on the grass with them, just to ground, and focus your energy when you do, when you're feeling that overwhelmed feeling, through the tree meditation that I've talked about. And close your eyes, go inward, take a couple of deep breaths, go all the way in and let it all the way out. And do it in I'm exhaling the stress out of my body. Like oh, that was exhausting. And blow it out. Take 2 or 3 breaths like that while you're sitting in the grass, and imagine your energy just reaching all the way deep down into the earth, and picture it like tendrils of a tree, vines growing all the way deep down into the earth and anchoring you solid like a tree. Your body, your being the trunk of the tree and the branches, is still able to move, but you're anchored and you're grounded. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. I'm to a point where I can literally close my eyes for a few seconds and boom, I'm anchored. Okay. Now, that said, I've had times where it may take, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, even 15 minutes to really start to feel the grounding effect. Um, with the anxiety, another technique is called um, square breathing. So, depending on how deeply you're able to breathe, you'll breathe in and out, and in and out. And so you'll inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And I want you to do that 9 times. Inhale, exhale. And that active breathing calms the sympathetic nervous system and releases dopamine to calm your emotions and that overwhelmed anxiety feeling. One other technique, and there's lots of really good videos on YouTube, um, tapping. And so, one that I use a lot, you hook your thumbs together like you're making an old grade school bird, and you're going to put the palms of your hands over your heart, and just like a heartbeat, thump, 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 thump. And it doesn't have to be very hard. And again, what that does is it triggers the body's natural response in the sympathetic nervous system to go from contraction to relaxation, and again releasing the body's natural serotonin and dopamine to calm you and help you through that anxiety. So try those different techniques. Pammy, let me know either in the chat, um, or the comments later if this helps you. I'd like to hear from you and know if it does. I know that these particular ones that I gave you as examples are ones that I use and that do seem to work for me. If they're not helping, or you'd like more or different ideas, please, let me know so that I can bring those to you, um, for our next evening's stream. So, with that said, I hope that answered your questions. I thank you so much for spending time here with me. Um, I can feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing up, uh, which is my body's natural response to the thunderstorms moving in, even before I've heard the lightning starting to strike. So I'm
Yeah, it
gonna
is
go
right.
ahead and say
Sounds like
good night. Yeah, yeah, I get, and part of that's the fibromyalgia too.
right.
Is my body's very hyper reactive to the weather. So I'm gonna go ahead and say good night. Thank you, Stephen. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
so much, darling. And thank you to everybody in the chat for being here. My love to you all, and I will be seeing you soon on the other side.
Good night.
All right. Good